Coming up, what an excellent day for church. Well, howdy folks, and welcome to Minute 32 of the Exorcist Minute, a show where we endeavor to examine, extrapolate, and excavate the Exorcist minute by terrifying minute. My name is Lester Ryan Clark.
And I'm Keenan Diaz.
And we'll be your holy guides on this journey through what some have called the scariest movie of all time. Okay, so our minute begins with church bells ringing.
And it ends with the priest carrying flowers.
It ends with the priest carrying flowers, and even at the top of this minute, we see the same priest carrying the same flowers. Folks, this is a straight minute of this priest carrying flowers, and I was worried that we wouldn't have much to talk about here.
I think there's always something there, but there's I think we have to put this in context a little bit, Lester, right? We've just had one of the biggest scares in the movie so far.
True.
With this flame almost burning poor Ellen Burstyn's eyelashes off.
Right.
And so there's something to be said about this moment of respite and of just peace.
Ah.
And it also sets us up for another big scare.
Wait.
It's all a trick.
What, Keenan, don't tell me that. There's another big scare coming?
At the end. Not in this minute. Don't worry. This minute's just calm and peaceful and lovely.
Well, now I'm on edge. Oh, my God. Okay, but check it out. So this is actually a pretty interesting priest here. Mm-hmm. Firstly, he's a real priest. This is Father John J. Nicola. I love that. I love the cadence of that name, John J. Nicola. His name is my name, too. And in addition to performing here, he was also another technical advisor for the film. So you can trust that everything he's doing in this minute, from the little half kneel that he does to the placing of the flowers, is legit. This is authentic priest stuff here, folks. Unfiltered, undiluted, Vatican stamp of approval. There we go. Now, this priest is also the author of a book titled Diabolical Possession and Exorcism. And this book, to quote the summary, examines diabolical possession and exorcism and the reaction to the phenomena by the Catholic Church, and analyzes how diabolical possession is presented in the film The Exorcist.
Hey, that's this film.
Well, what do you know? So, Keenan, you know I had to hunt this book down and try to get a copy for myself. Currently, the paperback sells for $150, so I don't think I will be getting it.
But this Father J. Nicola, one of the things that I read that he had done as the technical advisor for the book is tell Blatty, as he was adapting the book The Exorcist into the film, to not quite censor the devil so that he is swearing as kind of pussyfooted as he is in the book. He said the real demon that possessed people swear much worse than is in the book. So don't hold back with that. This demon in this little girl is going to say much worse things. So that's the priest's idea and not Blatty's idea as he adapts it.
Interesting. And yeah, folks, I mean, if you're following along with us and you are also reading the book maybe for the first time, yeah, you'll notice that once we meet this demon, he's kind of he's a sassy character in the book. He's very eloquent, he's very well spoken, and yeah, he does kind of maybe a little less crude, maybe a little bit more like you're playing chess with him, I think, right? And he's like, well, you've fallen right into my trap. And,
not quite like Spike Lee at the Knicks game, going like, you think you're bad, you ain't got game, get that shit out of my house. It's my house, right? That's the kind of demon that we have here
in this movie. Yeah, I thought of it as so the book demon is like Father Karras is at this quiet dimly lit bar with the demon, and they're playing chess, and it's like, well, you've used that move. I didn't expect you to use that move, but look at this move that I just did. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, it's kind of like they're both at the bar, and the bartender's like, "Hey, buddy, you sure you had enough?" It's like, "Fuck you,
fuck you, and your cunting daughter." Yeah, like this demon turns swear words into gerunds that weren't gerunds before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, right. We got adjectives, we got adverbs, we got gerunds, we got proper nouns, and we got like improper nouns. Well, everything that he says is an improper
noun. Improper. Yes. So you have Father Nicola here to thank for that. This nice guy bringing in these flowers is the one.
This nice guy bringing in the flowers is like, make sure the demon says fuck. Oh my goodness. Um,
So you said, yeah, so he's the technical advisor and he does his genuflection at the altar, right?
right.
Can I read you what the script says here?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so let's do a reading from the screenplay of Blatty.
Mm.
Interior Holy Trinity Church at rear side door, dawn. We hear a key in door from other side. The pastor of Holy Trinity sluggishly enters, sets door stop to hold door open, turns on church lights, blows nose in a handkerchief as he absently shuffles along, then genuflects at altar railing. He blesses himself, says a silent prayer, and as he looks up and starts to bless himself, he reacts with startlement and then shock as he sees before him. And we'll wait for the next minute there about what he actually sees. But I think it is, we won't know. You have to keep listening. But I think it's interesting here that so, Blatty and Friedkin and everyone else on the movie, once they go to actually execute the screenplay, gives him the business of this flowers. It's a little bit... I'm trusting that this priest would advise them the kind of things that would be done that day, bringing in these flowers, not necessarily having to use a doorstop. The door isn't locked, right? We're shooting at the real chapel on the campus of Georgetown, or at least one of the chapels called Dahlgren Chapel.
Right. Yes.
And so this priest is going about what would actually happen here at this church, and so he has his little genuflection, as Blatty says, but there's more to it. He doesn't just stop right there and have one thing to do and stand in the middle of the church. He has business to do. We got church stuff to do.
We got church stuff to do,
right?
Yeah? And I'm always fascinated by this, the day-to-day of the priests, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit later in this minute as well. But yeah, so let's get back to and thank you for that reading, Keenan. That was really cool. So let's get back to this minute proper. So at the very top, judging by the bells at the top of this minute, it is 6:00 in the morning, and this priest is coming from what I'm guessing right here is like the residence hall or an office of sorts. And yeah, he's carrying these two huge vases, flower buckets, or bouquets, one in each hand. And they are filled with this arrangement of flowers. The flowers are orange and yellow and red, very autumnal colors. And yet they look almost tropical, depending on when this is, and not just like what season, but also what time period within the church calendar. You might get like different colors of different types of flowers denoting different seasons of worship, and the decorations would be different as well, like what the priests wear at mass. Like, it doesn't help us here because our Father Nicola, he's wearing like the basic, like kind of default black that priests wear, like when they're not, conducting mass.
Right.
But normally, like when he would be conducting mass, he would be wearing like a specific color depending on what part of the liturgical time period it is.
Oh yeah, I only go to church. I only go to church often enough that I'm like, oh well, this guy wears a purple one and this guy wears a green one. I don't never see the same guy twice to to notice that.
And there's the little man up there. He's on the T, on the lowercase t. They got a swimming pool over there. I don't know. But no, so yeah, as we're looking at the interior of this church, I was looking around trying to see if maybe I could guess like where in the church calendar it is, right? Because like there would be like purple drapes or green drapes or white drapes, right? The only thing I can see is the altar cloth is white, and that would be like Christmas time. But I don't know. Nothing is standing out here. Like I remember during Christmas, the priests would all be like I said, wearing white, and the flowers would probably be like poinsettias or some other like red flower. But then again, like our church in Vegas was not 100% traditional, like come to find out later. Keenan, did I ever tell you about Father Jerry?
Oh no, you haven't. And I didn't know if I was allowed to ask what church you were at, but now you're giving the
well, there we go. Yeah.
the father by name. So
no, I gotta tell you about Father. Well, he's probably not there anymore.
But you can't say which diocese this was.
Oh, can I not?
If you don't want to. But I was like, but you're giving his name. But there's probably a lot of Father Jerry's.
Oh yeah, there's probably a lot of yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, I won't give the church name, but
all right, okay.
But guys, it was a church in Vegas, so that's the point I'm trying to make. Like,
I've been to a church on basically on the strip behind the Luxor. You know that church. I wish I knew the name of it, but it's a nice church, and it's basically you go out there and you get a great view of the Luxor and the Mandalay Bay. And I've had a couple of friends like shoot there outside of this lot, because it's just this fantastic view of the Strip that you wouldn't expect. You think everything is built up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and okay. So now, folks, I feel like I've gone like too far in the other direction. I'm not talking about like my church wasn't like one of those like drive-through.
No, it was a real Catholic church.
It was a legit Catholic church, but like we didn't have like, for example, we didn't have like the rows of pews or anything. It was almost like the priest he did mass at the altar in the center, and we were all kind of like around him.
Wow, church in the round.
Yeah, church in the round. It was really
cool.
Great. Yeah. But okay, so we had Father Jerry, and I got to tell you about Father Jerry. So we had this priest, his name was Father Jerry. He was a big, older, like jolly teddy bear guy, but with like a really deep voice. It was like having James Earl Jones as your priest, right? Like just think James Earl Jones, but like slightly older. Well, no, I guess he's as old as James. As old as James Earl Jones is now, that's how old Father Jerry was. So yeah. And he could be solemn when he needed, but he could also be like a funny grandpa. And it was awesome. And I think we were reading about the flood, Noah's Ark and all that, a reading from the book of Genesis. And he's reading to the congregation. And then the reading ends and he closes the book and he turns to the congregation. And this is when the priest like sort of gives his own interpretation. So we're all waiting, like what modern day lesson can we possibly learn from Noah? And in the silence, he says, now you guys know that didn't actually happen. And I had never heard a gasp like that, except in movies, like it was like, right. And he was a relatively new priest to our church. Like our regular guy was Father Bill, which I'm going to tell you about him a little later. But so I think everyone was still getting used to him. And I'm sure the older crowd was like, oh, here we go. First new math. And now this, this new age interpretation of the Bible.
That's right.
But I was in my seat like, what is this? What's going on? And essentially he used that time, the time when the priest is supposed to like tell you what the sermon means for you today, to caution us against taking certain parts of the Bible 100% literally, like the creation story or like the Noah story. And he said the things we should be focusing on is what the story is trying to tell us, the message. And even that changes with the times and with societal values and such, but not to like dig our heels in about like, well, no, it really was two of every animal, or he really did just snap his fingers and there was Adam and Eve, fully formed, fully evolved. And I think the message there, like on that day, like for the Noah thing, was like, listen to your gut. And even if you like if you have a calling, or if you feel this urge to like build something or make something or do this grand thing, listen to your gut, even if everyone else thinks you're crazy, and don't listen to the naysayers. Just build your ark and do what you got to do. And I remember thinking like, I can use this. I can apply this. Like I never cared about the Noah story before, but this is something I can, like I have arks. I have arcs that I'm building out here in LA, right? And people think I'm crazy, but like also like it felt good because our priest basically said, we don't have to feel guilty for thinking the Noah story is a bit far-fetched, because it is.
I guess I associate Catholicism with sort of modern Catholic churches of sort of avoiding a lot of that part of the Bible of Genesis and some of those questions, and outside of say Sunday school where it's taught, like something that's for the kids. And they seem to just go to the parts that are a little bit more recognizable. So is this unusual, to even talk about the Noah story?
Oh, no. I think the structure went, if I remember correctly, I think the structure of a typical mass would be like, we read from the Old Testament, and then the priest talks about it, and then we read from the New Testament, and the priest talks about that. So it's like two stories.
Realizing is that because I only go to mass at Christmas, Easter, weddings, and funerals,
right.
They're like, of course, there's no Old Testament stories there.
But yeah, usually, I mean, like unless I'm vastly mistaken, just like from the the annals of my memory. From what I remember is like we pick a story from the Old Testament and then we pick a story from the New Testament, and we kind of like thematically link them. It's like, see, everybody thought this person was crazy, but he went ahead and he listened to his gut and he did it, and but like I really liked that. that was the message, rather than, like, we have to take all this literally. We have to, like, anything that this, 2,000-year-old book says, like, we have to follow to the letter.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really liked that, right? The literal details of the story is not the point, right? And I really appreciate that God or the universe or whatever put Father Jerry in my path, to say, it's like, hey, it's okay to have questions and doubts, again, because, like, what thinking man doesn't, right? That's what
Father says. Yeah,
that's what Blatty said. But I don't know if I'm being blasphemous here. I don't want to speak for like all Catholics. Like, this was just my experience at my church in Las Vegas, of all places. Maybe that explains it. But that said, whether Father Jerry was going against, like, official church interpretation or not, I kind of prefer his interpretation. So thank you, Father Jerry.
I should tell you about the clergyman who's the most influential to me then, who is the Reverend Dr. Wallace, who was my world religions teacher at the community college.
Oh.
And so I took the best class that I ever took in college was Intro to World Religions. And it was taught by an Episcopalian minister. And he comes in, he talks about what an Episcopalian is and what that is. And he went around and asked everybody whether they had faith or not, and what kind of faith they had. And it was very nice and lovely. And then he got down to the first lecture, and he said that, this is the most important class that there is, because the search for meaning in the universe is, what else is there? And he said, but there is either a God or there is not a God, and that is just logic. One cannot exist without the other, right? And so those of us who have faith are either wrong, and that means that the people who don't have faith are right, or vice versa. And there was, this is what a lot of people complain about with modern colleges, and I'll complain to the students that I have to their faces. And someone stands up and says, "You can't say that. You can't say that." There's, and he says, "Well, that's just logic." And I told you, I'm a minister. I obviously believe that there is a God, or else I wouldn't be a minister. But either there is or there isn't, and what do we do with that gulf in between that? What do we do with that to people? And a lot of people dropped out after the first day, and I think because of that, because of his very blunt way of putting it, it is not. We could say we can agree to disagree, but we can't say that the viewpoints are both right. That's impossible.
Yeah, and again, like, I like this because, like, we're basing this on human logic, right? Like, and that's the funny thing.
Right. You're right, Lester. You're right.
See where I'm going there? See where I'm going? Like, I mean, we say, okay, like, hey, I'm gonna play devil's advocate right here, and I'm gonna play play devil's advocate for God. I don't know what side I'm on in this thing. But, like, okay, so let's use human logic again, and let's say that we have stated that God can do anything, right? So if he can do anything, that's what God is, right? He can do anything. So if he can do anything, can't he also exist and not exist at the same time?
You're right, Lester. I knew where you were going the instant you started saying it. Right. That's sort of that not quite Buddhist, but sort of Western koan, if you will, of can God make a rock so heavy even he couldn't lift it? And the answer is yes.
I love these little kind of like examinations. My personal idea is that if we, like, let's say, it's like, we pass on from this life, Keenan, and we go somewhere. We go somewhere, and we meet the all-powerful being, and we say, "Oh, all-powerful being, like, am I right? Is this person right? Which one is the true religion?" And that all-powerful being is going to say, "None of them," and all of them. And we're going to be like, "Wait, no, but how is that possible?" And the all-powerful being, the universe, God, whatever, is going to be like this. And they're going to show us, and we're suddenly going to be like, "Oh, like my tiny, stupid human brain couldn't comprehend that, but now..."
Or they could be a Sikh God and everything else is wrong. I mean, that's very possible, right? That the Sikh version of God is like, I'm the newest major religion, and that is because I am the correct one, and everything else is wrong. And I don't know what I had to do to tell you otherwise.
It's like, what does an all-powerful God got to do?
Right, exactly.
to get some belief in here. And I hope, guys, we're not making anybody uncomfortable by joking about this essentially, but like it is. I mean, I think that's kind of like what I do to kind of like make myself feel a little bit more comfortable is to is to come at this with some humor. But yeah, like none of us know. We don't know. And we just kind of like have our faiths or our not faiths, or what would the opposite be? I don't know.
Of not having faith, of doubt and despair.
No. See, and I think that's because I hope none of us have doubt and despair. That's a horrible thing.
No. I know what you're saying, but I'm like the literal opposite of faith, which time with the word is
doubt and despair, right? Which as is like in our 6 themes in this story, right? Mm-hmm. What is it? Doubt, isolation, despair, conviction, communion, hope, right? Oh, faith isn't in there. Damn.
But anyways, I that was an incredibly influential class to me, and I love learning about other religions. Because I was raised Catholic, and then never clicked really, and then I was in that period where I was like, well, like a lot of atheists, like the more you read the Bible, the easier it is to see that there is no God. There's like that snotty sort of. You've heard other people say that kind of thing, right? And then I was like, oh wait, no, and then that got me out of that snotty nosed idea there, and I was like, this is really beautiful stuff that I wish I felt. And I just don't. And then it taught me all about, again, learning that Islam and Judaism and Christianity are brothers to each other. That was mind blowing to me. And then learning how incredibly different the Eastern religions are from the Western religions. And then we didn't even get to some of the polytheistic religions, like in say Sub-Saharan Africa or in Southeast Asia, that's people still, or in Central Asia, that people still practice today.
Yes. And we're also, I mean, like we're even going to look into, stuff about modern day Satanism and stuff like that, and Wicca and witchcraft and stuff like that, because Blatty and Friedkin, well, more so Blatty because it's in the book, like, they say some things about witchcraft and Satanism that are kind of Christian propaganda-y, that we're going to have to need to correct once we get to that.
That's the thing about you and I growing up in Vegas is that we were, I don't know about you personally, but or whether you knew it at the time, but like we are surrounded by a big Wiccan culture in Las Vegas, and there's a temple nearby, and there's a major temple of Wicca here, and it's just one of those things that's around there in Vegas, like knowing clowns. you just know people who are clowns. And I met this woman who at a film festival, and I said, "Oh, what do you do?" She said, "Oh,
wait. What are we drawing the tie with clowns and Wiccans? Wait,
no, just in Las Vegas. This is like being in Las Vegas. There are clowns who live in Las Vegas, like actual clowns.
Oh, okay. It's like there are Vegas is a place where like professional performers and
yes. Oh, I guess I need to step even further back. Sorry,
we're not equating Wiccans to clowns.
No,
we're just saying,
no. I'm saying like you live in Las Vegas, you meet magicians, you meet clowns, you meet Wiccans,
but not those magicians. We're not talking about. Oh my god.
Yeah, you meet people who are actual clowns, and like at Cirque du Soleil, right? This is a major center of clowning as an art form in the entire world. It's like Montreal, Paris, and Las Vegas, right? This is where the clowns are.
Yes, and it also happens to be like a place of that's a large Wiccan population.
Yes, I'm not saying that's the same. Yeah. Las Vegas, at least when I was growing up, I don't know if it's still the case, has more churches per capita than other major cities, and part of that is like that drive through Vegas chapel situation, but it's not just that. Like Vegas is partially founded by by LDS settlers, right? Mormon settlers. It's a very religious place. There's a lot of religion here. But anyway, so sorry, I keep trying to tell this story. So I met this woman at a film festival, and she had done this fantastic performance. I'm like, oh wow, where did do you act professionally? Like what? And she says, well, I mostly do like choreographed miming. And I go, oh, a clown. And she says, oh, yes, I just moved to Las Vegas and I'm used to having to say it like that in other places. But I do like choreographed miming, not like comedy. So like anywhere else, I was like, I think you could say clown here in Las Vegas and say, I am a clown. And we know what you mean. Yeah. That you're like a serious artist. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. So yeah, I guess I had forgotten even that. I was trying to more context about what it's like to live in Las Vegas.
Right. Yes. But also, wait, what did that have to do with the Wiccan population?
That there's a lot of Wiccans in Las Vegas. Like, so other places, I don't know. And there's a lot of Wiccans, there's a lot of magicians, there's a lot of clowns, there's a lot of, you meet minors, in Las Vegas.
I'm trying to save both of us. And I'm trying to say...
I'm not
So
saying that magicians and Wiccans are the same.
No.
I'm saying in Las Vegas, you meet a lot of LDS people, like Mormons. You meet a lot of Wiccans.
There you go.
You also meet people. Also, in addition to, you also meet people with jobs that you wouldn't meet.
Interesting jobs,
interesting
that
jobs
you wouldn't
meet, like magicians and clowns and miners and professional gamblers.
Yes. So just to cap it all off, because I'm OCD.
And you just don't want. Okay, you don't want it to get sued or something.
Right. No, not sued. I just don't want to, like make anybody feel like offend anybody. But like, okay, so like what we're saying is like, there are a lot of Wiccans, there are a lot of Catholics, there are a lot of Jewish people, there are a lot of Buddhists, there are a lot of Protestants. It's a mixed bag of religions. In the same way that it is a mixed bag of professions that you wouldn't know. It's like we have all the professions. We're like a whirlpool of, like, we have teachers and we have doctors and we have lawyers, but we also have clowns and we have this and we have that,
Well, so, I'm glad, but I thought of another one. So just now that you've qualified that. But you don't realize until when you move from Vegas to other places, you realize how odd it is that like bars close in other cities, the first time that you go to a bar and there's a last call and you're like, what the hell is this? Because in Vegas in college, you go to the bar and you hang out there until the sun comes up and then you go get breakfast.
Right.
Like that's what a college just hang out at the bar is.
That's what Vegas is.
Yeah, that's what Vegas is. So yeah. And that there's slot machines in the supermarkets. You find it weird when you go other places, there's slot machines supermarkets. You don't realize until later that most people don't know sex workers as their friends, and I'm glad that you did all that other cleaning up before, so I didn't equate that with any religion. But like you don't, that is not as common other places where people at least are as open about the fact that they are a dancer at a strip club or that kind of thing.
Yes, and again, and to just to kind of
go ahead. Go ahead, save me.
The oldest profession. It is a legitimate profession.
Sex work is real work.
It is real work.
Yes.
It is a dedication. It was in the Bible.
It was in the Bible. It sure is. Yeah.
So that like I'm drowning.
It is an unusual place, is what I'm trying to say. It's an
Vegas.
Place.
Vegas is. Everybody come to Vegas. Everybody come to Vegas.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. It's great. And you're going to in one day, you're going to encounter all of these things that we mentioned. And yes, sex work is absolutely a respectable calling. It is just like any other job. But sorry, folks, I feel like we got super sidetracked there. But that's kind of because there's not a lot happening in this minute. The one big thing that happens in this scene doesn't happen yet. So we'll have to wait until next minute to talk about it.
Right. We're being lulled into a false sense of security.
Yes. So just a quick little thing here about side altars. If you notice, the priest places the flowers at the foot of this statue of Joseph and the baby Jesus. Now, if my research is correct, this is what's known as a side altar. It flanks the main altar, and yes, there is one that we don't see in this minute dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Now, these side altars have some historical significance. Again, my research might be a bit spotty, so apologies if I miss anything. And if I do, please write in and let us know if you have any more info. But from what I found out, side altars in churches have largely been repurposed as places to venerate Mary or Joseph or certain saints. But back in the day, and they still maybe do this in parts of the world, it was so you could do this thing called concelebration, which basically means having two or more masses going on at once. And what I mean is, okay, so like there's two types of concelebration. Like you can have three priests doing three different masses, or you could have three priests doing the same mass just to like a big crowd. And from what I understand, they had to do this just because so many people were going to church back then. They just had to satisfy the masses. And you can see why they don't really do this anymore. I don't think like that many people are going to churches anymore that you would need like double, triple mass, maybe mega churches, but that's a whole other thing that, I'm sure we'll get into at some point.
Well, part of this though is is also that modern churches now, probably after The Exorcist, I'm not sure when this started to happen, but would be wired with PA systems.
Right. Yes.
So you can have one priest. So I mean, like if you have a really large space, maybe it's not practical for one priest to be doing one mass for everybody. And then if you go to say St. Patrick's in New York, have you ever been there?
I have not. No.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So that is a traditionally laid out, like basically in the form of a cross, right? It's not, as I understand it, it's not. They're not. The old cathedrals weren't in the shape of a cross specifically to keep that cross architecture, that cross symbolism going. But it was because you could have these different little sections and have other things going on. So when you go into St. Patrick, it's not that you go into one space and it's like, oh, I could see the entire building here. You do have these 3 different areas. So, and that's now a different case where it's an active Catholic church, but it's also a tourist attraction. So they welcome you in, right? They're like, please come in and see our architecture and see our art and also but be respectful that people are praying here. And you go in and the major body of it is people praying quietly. And then you walk through and like, oh, shoot, there's a baptism like sort of around the corner because it's a huge spot. So like, oh, goodness, you don't feel like intruding upon that, in the active times there. And then I've also been to like the Crystal Cathedral in Anaheim, which I don't know what denomination that is. And that's sort of mega church-ish. It's a really beautiful space, but it's huge. But that was built with PA and audiovisual aids, built into it.
Interesting.
Right, where it is more like stadium-like. Gorgeous place. You should go down there since that's close to you.
Okay, it's called the Crystal Cathedral?
The Crystal Cathedral in Anaheim. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. So it is, I don't know what denomination they are, but similarly, they're like, please come in, as long as you're not bothering people who are worshiping, just look at how great it is. I mean, they designed the old cathedrals specifically to inspire faith in you, right? Like you would go in, you're like, oh wow, this is awe-inspiring, and that's what you get in the old style. In the like the St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York is awe-inspiring, and then the Crystal Cathedral in Anaheim is similarly awe-inspiring, but it's very different. It's if you go there, the entire back wall is glass. So as you're watching the priest during mass, there are crucifixes hung from the ceiling ish, but it's all one big slanted, very modern glass thing, and it is gorgeous.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Oh yeah, and yeah, my our church in Vegas also did have like a PA system. So Father Jerry would be in the middle there, and he would be speaking, and like no matter how big or how how many people there were, like he could reach everybody.
Right. That's interesting. So then we still have these. That hadn't occurred to me before about these side areas, but that would have been they could try to get through hundreds of people at once, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so. Also, like they served another purpose too. We're getting back to like the old side altars because priests are required to do mass every day, whether people show up or not. So it could even be like a little personal mass that like a priest just has to do like on his own, where like you don't speak, you just like do it in your head. And in that situation, you would use one of the side altars. You wouldn't use like the main one. And actually, we're going to see Father Karras do, I think, at least one private mass in this movie. I think he does a couple in the book, and he does them at very significant times in like his development as a character. It's like something happens, and then he goes and he does one of these little masses. But there you go. That's the story of side altars.
That's so cool. And then they get to this one, and whoever came up with this business with the flowers, because again, it's not in the screenplay that Blatty wrote. So whether Blatty or the technical advisor, the priest or Friedkin or whoever came up with it, it's really ingenious because we have the priest with these 2 flower buckets going to one side, and then he turns towards the camera, to get the surprise of the other side.
Right.
Really, really great blocking, as well as feeling. So potentially it's like we got a more authentic feeling, and it helps the blocking of the scare anyways, as opposed to what Blatty has originally. We go right to the center, and then he looks up and it's the scare.
Yeah. And I do want to say here, like, as you were reading the screenplay, I remembered it's like, hey, like, I guess we can mention this because it is in the film. We did see it. When he goes into the door, we see at the foreground, we see the head of the statue of the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, we do. I can't tell. It's slightly different from the profile shot of the Virgin Mary that we see at the beginning in that new footage we've added to the version you've never seen.
Right. This is the Virgin we've never seen. Keenan, do you know how long? Do you know how many minutes?
30 minutes.
I was waiting. I came up with that joke before we started this podcast. And I was like, oh, we're going to get to this minute. And I'm going to drop this joke.
Months and months. But yeah, so I can't tell. We can't tell because it's from a slightly different camera angle if this is the same church from the beginning. So maybe we can find that in production notes, but not just from these shots. We can't tell if it's the same. Right. This virgin.
The virgin we've never seen. Oh my God. So yeah, I think that's it for this minute. Keenan, is there anything else we wanted to add here?
No, let's go on before we insult anybody else by accident.
Yes. And again, guys, we're sorry. We hope that like we're all taking this with a grain of salt. Which also I think that phrase comes from the Bible as well. But yes, so please, and actually, if we did, offend anybody, please write into us, theexorcistminute@gmail.com, and tell us what you think.
I blame our upbringing, or at least my upbringing from Las Vegas. That's the whole thing.
Yes, this was our Vegas. What happens in Vegas is full of sin and vice, and yes, we are Sin City. But now I live in the city of angels. Anyway, okay. Keenan, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think I am, Lester.
Until next time, folks, the power of Father Jerry compels you.